let's talk about A Night of Stories and Music. Where does the concept, where did you get the concept? Because I remember seeing Randy Bachman do something like this, which is wild because I'm not like the biggest Guess Who guy, even though I am Canadian, but hearing him like be like, so we got in this bus in Saskatoon after doing acid, and I look over and Burton says to me, man, my eyes just can't stop crying. And then he just goes right into these eyes. I'm like, oh my God, the context, it's all there. Is it like that kind of idea where you're coming with?
That is the kind of idea. Though the Guess Who may not have been the template, but I'm glad that there is a positive precedent. Yeah, I did a show very similar to this, like an off Broadway version of this, sort of like Morello on Broadway a while ago. But it's an opportunity to, like I've got a lot of campfire stories, regarding Rage Against the Machine, Audioslave, myself, sort of how I became the guitar player that I am, how I began to think the way I did, and all of the the triumphs, trials, and tribulations in between, and then a whole lot of guitar playing and singing as well. So it's that would be a elevator pitch synopsis of what's going to happen. But what I really like about it is that I've played in Canada for over the course of more than 3 decades. It's one of my favorite places in the world to play. The Canadian audience have always been so incredibly supportive and responsive, and such great rockers. From the first time that Rage Against the Machine played there in 1992, through my most recent tour earlier this year, rocking festivals and some of my own shows. It's some of my favorite audiences in the world. And so I really wanted to do this show there for you nice people.
It feels cool, the idea of you doing like this quasi spoken word thing. Because when I think spoken word, I think Henry Rollins, and then Henry Rollins, like, I feel like there's a similar connection with the vibe that a guy like him is putting out and you're putting out when you get on stage. Is there a correlation there, a crossover?
Well, I mean, I certainly I know I've done shows with Henry Rollins where I've added some of my own ribald tales, to his performance. But yeah, I mean, the thing that we have in common is our lives are a rich tapestry of crazy shit. And relaying those tales is one that that I know when I've sat around with people from bands that I like, whether it's just whether it's at the Rainbow Bar and Grill or backstage somewhere on tour. I really love hearing what people have to say about how it is that they've made the music that they make, who they are behind the guitars and the microphones, etc. And this show is definitely that.
Is it all acoustic? Is it all unplugged?
Funny you should mention that. First of all, is this noise too loud that's coming in my window right
No,
here?
I can't even hear it. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah. Funny you should mention that, because when I've done the show before, it's partially acoustic and partially electric. I think it's very, very important. One, the storytelling component and the night watchman stuff and the acoustic stuff has been very near and dear to my heart. There certainly will be that. However, I love to shred my ass off. I love the big ass riffs that have been a huge part of my life, work, and legacy. And so we were actually just talking before I got on the line with you right now about how to make the electric guitar an important component of this show.
Now, when you're sitting down to write music, does the beginning of you writing a song come from like a lyrical aspect, or does it come from just the musical aspect, like that Fantasia idea of speaking through the notes?
Sure. I mean, it depends. Over the course of 22 albums, it's happened in a lot of different ways. My contributions to sort of the Rage Against the Machine and Audioslave catalog would always be, for me, music first. It would be a lot of, when I was living in an apartment in Hollywood, you couldn't be blasting your Marshall stack during your most creative hours, which might be 2 or 3 a.m. So a lot of those, like, Sleep Now in the Fire, Testify, Bomb Track, Freedom, like those riffs were written on acoustic guitar, because I just did, and then I would sort of collect them on my Radio Shack cassette player, bring them into rehearsal the next day. And I got to the point where I could imagine over time, like when in the quiet of the night on a nylon string acoustic guitar, what a song was going to feel like at a huge festival in, Belgium.
So when you're growing up, I feel like your brain, the chemicals in your brain, they change the way you view the world and the way you look at things. And I can remember like hearing music all the time. And then there's this moment, and it's different for everybody. For me, it was the Crow soundtrack with Burn. My older sister had that on cassette, and I remember just the way it started. that like I feel like music became way more than just music, you know? What
Sure.
was that moment for you? Do you remember what it was?
Sure, sure. There are probably two very important moments. There's more than one moment. Would be the thing. It was like for me, the music that made me love music was metal. And it was Kiss. Kiss was the introduction. Like I was a big comic book collector, and I saw the cover of Destroyer. They were my favorite band before I heard a note of music. I was an only child, so I didn't have like older brothers and sisters or anybody sort of like spoon feeding me music. I was on a journey of self-discovery. So for me, it was Detroit Rock City and that record that led me to Led Zeppelin, that led me to Black Sabbath, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what made me love music. However, the moment that made me play music was a very, very different one. It was the Sex Pistols cassette. I had read about the Sex Pistols, in sidebars of the magazines that were talking about the metal bands that I liked. And I remember being physically afraid, like, what if this music were to come to our shores? And would we be in danger? And is someone going to put a safety pin through my lip or whatever? But then when I heard that cassette, like I wanted to play guitar. I got a guitar, a $50 guitar when I was 13 years old, and spent $5 at the local music store to take a lesson. I wanted to learn Detroit Rock City and Black Dog, and they wanted to teach me how to tune the guitar and the C major scale. That sounded like a huge waste of time. It was no fun. So that guitar sat in a closet for 4 years. My mom kept reminding me about that $50 we blew on that guitar, which you never touch. I got the Sex Pistols cassette, and immediately it was my favorite. I was like, oh, this is music that's just as exciting, as powerful, as inspiring as any of that metal stuff, but I can play it today. And I marched into the Libertyville High School drama club, and said, a punk rock band is forming. I'm the guitarist. Warning, I don't know how to play a single note or chord on the guitar. Whoever wants to be in the band, raise your hand. No experience required. And a number of hands went up. A saxophone player, a drummer who didn't have a drum but borrowed some drumsticks, and Adam Jones from Tool.
Okay, I don't want. That's a total sidebar of me getting into like the interrelations with you and Tool. I got to stay focused like a laser beam. So when we're talking like music, like, the world is scary, and music I feel like is a great blanket. And one of the big cool moments for me was seeing like in It Might Get Loud. You see Jimmy Page go through his records, and he throws on Link Ray, and he starts like air guitaring to Link Ray's Rumble. He's just getting right into it. And I'm curious, like for you, that's like a comfort record, What's your comfort record, man?
Oh, that's a good question. A comfort record, probably. I'm just off the top of my head. Comfort record, maybe the Clash, London Calling. There's not one stinker on that thing. It's a record. Like post Sex Pistols, it's the record that made me realize that I didn't have to leave behind who I am in what I want to do. Because I couldn't write songs. Like Gene Simmons had a very different social life than myself. So like the stuff he was able to sort of authentically write about, I could not entirely relate to. The Geezer Butler's lyrics about the occult too. I had a musty basement and a few ideas that a few ideas about racism, and Central American death squads, and the Clash made me think like, okay, hold on. Like there's a way to really, really, you don't have to leave behind who you are and what you do. And the Clash, every time I put that on, reminds me of that.
So I also, before you got on, Francis and I were talking, you're a Star Trek guy. I didn't know you were a Star Trek guy. Which series is your favorite one? I'm assuming you're a DS9 guy. That's my call.
Well, first of all, I'm not just a Star Trek guy. I'm in Star Trek canon multiple times. So the Next Generation, if you enjoy the movie Insurrection, I'm one of the Sona aliens there. It took about 5 hours of makeup a day, and it was worth every second in that chair. I'm also in Voyager as well, with a scene with Captain Janeway. For me, it was like I came to Star Trek late. Like I sort of knew what it was, but this is an Adam Jones. It's a true story. So when Adam first moved to Hollywood, he was trying to get a job, and so he stayed with us. So he had like a stockpile of VHS videotapes, which is kind of how he paid his rent. It was like we get to watch all of his movies and TV shows, including the entire original Star Trek series, right? So that's when I really sort of fell in love with Kirk and Spock. and then this is, I'm old enough to, this is like Next Generation came out right in the middle of my Star Trek frenzy then, and I fell in love with the cerebral Picard and company.
So you mentioned that you're a big comic book guy too, and you were in the Iron Man movie.
Yeah, again, I wasn't just in the Iron Man. I'm the first guy that Iron Man kills in the MCU. Like,
now, are you an Iron Man guy? Like, is that your go-to? Who is your favorite character?
I am victim number one of Iron Man in the MCU. And the funny thing is that they, Jon Favreau's a friend, and I did some music for the first couple of Iron Man films, and and they're like, were trying to like pay me my stunt man fee, and I said, no, don't worry about it, dude. I'm just happy to help. And so what I got paid in was with Iron Man's helmet. So like when you see that movie, like the great, like when Iron Man is welding that helmet, like in the terrorist cave, like if you come over to my house, you can put that on, and people do.
Is that like your big like collector item that you've got? Is that like your big one?
It's one of them. I got a couple of some niche collector's items that I'm a racehorse fan. I got a bit of Secretariat's mane. I've got like a couple of little things like that.
So if you're gonna play like a specific character, comic book character in a movie, like your dream you can get any. Pick up the phone, Bill Hollywood. I want this role. What is it? What's it gonna be?
You know what? It might be Man-Thing. It might be Man-Thing. Like I love that sort of like outside, like the sort of the dark outside. But Man-Thing is really sort of the Night Watchman encapsulated. Yeah.
Perfect. I've one more question before I let you go. We do, and it's because we do this segment on our show called the Daily Dopamine, and it's where because we always say like social media wants you mad, it wants you afraid. So there's things happening in your real life that are awesome. They don't have to be big things; they can be little things. But what is your daily dopamine? Just those little things that you notice that put you in a good mood.
Yeah, for me, it's my kids. It's like my my sons both play sports, football and baseball in high school, and I love driving them. Like some parent, I'll drive them 4 hours and be happy. We listen to music in the car. Like I love getting off tour. I love playing shows, but I love getting off tour and just looking forward to spending that time. My son Roman also plays with me live, so being able to like shred on stage. I'm now like the second best guitar player in my house. I've been relegated to rhythm guitar duty. He was the other day. I hear coming out of his room, he's learning Steve Vai's "For the Love of God," which is like one of the most complicated, craziest songs of all time. And he's just he knows that I'm never going to learn that, so he just teaches me the chord progression so that he can just jam away, and I'm like the background guitar player. So really, it's stuff like that. And I play Dungeons and Dragons. I have like 3 weekly Dungeons and Dragons games with my bros.
Have you ever played like the Palladium games, like Rifts and Heroes Unlimited or any of that stuff?
No, but
because I started playing D&D in the Thaco era, like 2nd edition, and so like the Palladium games are, it's like there's a Robotech role playing game. It's like, dude, it's the best. The Ninja Turtles one, and it's like a it's like a reactive combat system. So you choose to like dodge or parry, and you can consume like moves per melee. It's one little step more complicated, but I'm telling you, Palladium, like take a look.
I love a nice nerd game, and that I played as a kid, then I took about 30 years off and got kind of roped back in. But like I've got a game tonight, for example. Like I really look forward to that. And again, in a crazy world where they're at a time of terrible rising fascism in my country, while it's fight the power by day, play D&D by night, head to Canada and rock the people and tell some stories later.
That's beauty, man. Thank you so much for your time, boss. I really appreciate it. I rambled to Francis before we got on about my love of Rage Against the Machine when I was growing up. I sold stuff from college to go see you guys and tour on a road trip. It was awesome. It was great. And have a great day, man. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to see the show.
Thank you so much. I'm very much looking forward to being back up there and appreciate your time.
You have a good one, dude.